In 2025, the Australian government paid Deloitte nearly $300,000 for an expert report. However, when someone checked the footnotes, they discovered fake quotes, non-existent academic papers, and even a fabricated quote from a court case that never happened. The report wasn't authored by Deloitte's experts, it was generated by a chatbot. Deloitte's name was the only reason anyone initially trusted it. This raises a crucial question that many in the corporate world are quietly pondering. Is this the beginning of the end for Deloitte and the entire industry it represents? This story isn't just about one flawed report. It's about how a company can spend 100 years building trust and lose it in a single afternoon. It also highlights why this may be catching up with the biggest names in consulting. Let's delve into the details. First, let's discuss what actually happened. It's almost amusing if it weren't so costly. Deloitte was hired to review Australia's welfare penalty system, a serious and sensitive piece of government work. The final report spanned 237 pages and was meant to reflect the judgment of trained professionals, thoroughly checked and verified, justifying the near $300,000 price tag. Instead, a university researcher examining the citations found references to studies that simply do not exist. He also uncovered a quote attributed to a federal judge that the judge never actually made. When this was revealed, Deloitte had to admit that it had used an AI tool to assist in writing the report and had to return part of the payment. Now, here's what should genuinely concern you. This wasn't a minor local incident. Deloitte is one of the 4 largest professional services firms globally. Alongside 3 other firms, they audit and advise almost every major government and corporation in the Western world. If a mistake as fundamental as this can slip through Deloitte's own review process and end up in the hands of the government, it raises the question, what exactly are you paying for? To comprehend why this is such a significant issue, you need to understand how firms like Deloitte rose to power in the first place. In the 1970s, American companies began expanding across the globe, facing different countries, tax rules, and accounting laws everywhere. There was a need for someone to audit these books honestly, regardless of where a company operated. That was the role these firms were designed to fulfill: trusted, independent outsiders. For a while, the system functioned as intended. However, there's an interesting aspect to trust. Once you have built enough of it, you no longer feel the need to continually earn it. Over the decades, the industry has narrowed down from 8 major firms to essentially 4: Deloitte, PwC, EY, and KPMG. When you find yourself among only 4 companies capable of operating on a global scale, something peculiar occurs. You cease to compete on quality and begin to compete solely on reputation. Consider this analogy. If you were choosing a doctor in a small town with only 4 hospitals left, and 3 of them had just made the same mistake, you would likely still select one of those 4. Your decision wouldn't be based on trust, rather it would stem from a lack of other options. This has been the situation for governments and corporations for decades. Deloitte's AI mistake wasn't the first instance of this industry failing significantly. It is simply the latest in a pattern that has persisted for over 20 years. Let's take a step back to 2001. Enron, once one of the most respected energy companies in America, was secretly concealing around $20 billion in debt through a complex web of shell companies. Their auditor, a firm called Arthur Andersen, was paid millions of dollars each year to catch such issues, but completely failed to do so. 9 months after the scandal broke, Arthur Andersen, a firm that had been in operation for almost a century, was no more. You might expect that an entire industry witnessing one of its biggest names collapse overnight would learn from the experience. Instead, the surviving firms became even larger. Today, nearly all of the 500 largest companies in America are audited by just 4 firms. And changing auditors is so uncommon that one company in Canada has maintained Deloitte as its auditor for over 140 years. Pause for a moment to consider this. When a company can make a serious mistake so publicly, yet clients barely react, that's not loyalty. It's a lack of real alternatives. If you're intrigued by the behind-the-scenes dynamics of how these giant firms operate, this channel covers one such story every week. Go ahead and subscribe now so you don't miss the next one. Now, back to Deloitte. It's worth noting that the AI report wasn't merely an isolated error. Regulators who delve into the work of this industry continuously uncover similar stories. In recent years, audit regulators have found that a significant portion of audits conducted by top firms fail to meet basic standards. In some instances, nearly half of the audits reviewed revealed serious gaps in the supporting evidence. One firm faced such a high failure rate that it had to sever ties with dozens of clients and forfeit over $200 million in fees just to rectify its financial statements. The issues don't end with accuracy. There are also conflicts of interest. These firms no longer just conduct audits. They also provide costly consulting services to the same companies they audit. This means that the same firm could end up reviewing its own work. In Australia, one competitor of Deloitte was found to be misusing confidential government tax information to assist large tech companies in circumventing the very regulations that the firm had helped establish. The fallout from this scandal was so severe that the company was compelled to sell its entire government consulting division for just $1. From an external perspective, you might wonder, why are you paying exorbitant fees to a company that's supposed to serve as your independent and trusted auditor, yet is also trying to sell you additional services? Their audits consistently contain significant flaws, and now there's a concern that their reports may simply be AI-generated content that hasn't been thoroughly checked. At some point, you have to question what exactly you are getting for that premium price. For decades, this industry has weathered numerous scandals because there was no viable alternative. However, that is finally changing, largely due to the same technology that exposed Deloitte's shortcomings. A considerable part of what junior staff at these firms are paid to do, reading documents, extracting relevant information, and identifying patterns, is now work that AI can perform faster and more efficiently. For a century, these large firms enjoyed a hidden advantage: access to armies of cheap, highly educated labor that smaller competitors couldn't afford. This advantage is rapidly diminishing. At the same time, governments are beginning to take action. Regulators in several countries are now pushing to separate companies' auditing functions from their consulting services due to the conflicts of interest that arise. Clients are also becoming more comfortable bringing their work back in-house or hiring smaller, more specialized firms. When you consider all of this, Deloitte faces three significant problems simultaneously: a trust scandal it created, a business model regulators are actively working to dismantle, and a wave of new technology that is gradually eliminating its primary competitive advantage. While none of these issues would likely be fatal on their own, their combination presents a very different challenge. So, is Deloitte finished? Not tomorrow, and probably not this year. A corporation of its size doesn't disappear overnight. However, the version of Deloitte that could charge nearly anything and get away with it, simply because no one dared to question the name on the report, is running out of time. This ongoing AI scandal could be seen as the moment when things began to decline. If you have ever worked with one of these firms or witnessed a report being accepted at face value when it shouldn't have been, I invite you to share your experiences in the comments. I want to hear your stories. And if you're intrigued by how a century of reputation can begin to unravel over a few misleading footnotes, that's the reason this channel exists. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.